What is up, everyone? Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Fantasy Flex Podcast. This is your fantasy preview for NFL Week 12. I am your host, Chris Raybon of the Action Network. And on today's show, we're going to break down the Thanksgiving DFS slate, the 3-game Thursday slate. We'll also dive into the Week 12 main slate that takes place on Sunday. And we will build some DFS lineups as well. Here to break it down with me, one of the top fantasy rankers, prop bettors, all that good stuff in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Happy Thanksgiving. As always, what's your top stack for Thanksgiving food, and what's your dart throw?
Ooh, top stack. I gotta go cranberry sauce and stuffing. I love both of those things.
When they mix together, that's a true
like
stack.
because I also put the gravy on them, but like on the gravy on the stuffing. But I don't like to have one without the other. I need to have both with the turkey. And then dart throw, that's a good one. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say some pumpkin pie.
That's a dart throw. That seems pretty chalky to me.
Really?
Who doesn't love
I thought pumpkin pie was Halloween. Oh no, am I? No, yeah. Isn't pumpkin pie Halloween?
No, just all the pumpkins from Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Turn it into pie, and it's delicious with some Cool Whip on it.
I mean, I don't have pumpkin pie or pie very often, so all pie is kind of a dart throw. My go-to pie is apple pie. So, but what about you?
Yeah, for stacks, gotta go mashed potatoes and gravy with my mother-in-law's stuffing, which instead of turkey, I don't like turkey. So Thanksgiving is kind of weird for me, but she uses Italian sausage instead. It's amazing. And then my dart throw would be like the string bean casserole. That's definitely one of my guilty pleasures when it comes to Thanksgiving food, but it's a bit dicey. Not everybody loves it, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I could give you a dart throw, oxtail. That's some West Indian Thanksgiving. That's one not a lot of people.
I mean, pumpkin pie is not a dart throw, but oxtail is.
Okay,
that's a great dart throw.
Fair enough. I mean, I have more oxtail than pumpkin pie, honestly. So to me, it's kind of reversed, but point taken. All right, we are going to jump into the Thanksgiving slate. But before we do, just a reminder that we have a contest every week. We pick our favorite 5-star rating and reviewer from the pod. So if you haven't left one, be sure to, and you can win a free year of Action Pro or some swag from the Action Network store if you'd like. And you already have a sub. This week's winner, Spank Helmer. So thank you, Spank Helmer, for the 5-star rating and review. We appreciate it. Hit up podcast at actionnetwork.com to claim your prize. Also, don't forget, we got our Discord server popping off. Link in the episode description if you're interested in that. But Thanksgiving, we got 3 games. So we'll kind of go through the main Thanksgiving slate. But we can kind of talk through, each one of these games and who we like as we go through. But Green Bay at Detroit. The Lions favored by 7.5. The total was 47 in that one. So projecting about a 27-20 Detroit game there. Washington at Dallas. Cowboys favored by 11. The total around 48. So Cowboys expected to push 30. Washington expected to be under 20. And then this is the interesting one. San Francisco at Seattle for the Thursday night football game. The Niners are favored by 6.5 on the road, but the total just 43 makes me think that, and we're recording this on Tuesday, Geno Smith, right now they're saying he's going to go, but that total makes me think somebody knows something because that total should not be that low if you have, a healthy Geno Smith in this game going against the Niners who, they put up, most weeks they're going to put up 30 by themselves. So yeah, that total is kind of maybe a little bit of a tip off to expect. No Geno, maybe some Drew Lock. So with that being said, Let's start with some stacks. Who do you like?
So I'm gonna target the Lions with this one. So I think Jared Goff and either Amon Ra, St. Brown, or Sam Laporta. But more importantly, you complete the double stack with Jamison Williams, who's only 3,400 here, and then send it back on the other side with Jaden Reed. So Jamison Williams is really starting to heat up. He had a 66% routes run rate last game, which is a season high, which I think is a career high. And his target rate has taken a slight hit after he's been seeing more playing time, which can happen to a lot of receivers, but I think he's only going to get better, and he could have just a massive breakout game coming any week now. So I'd want to get on it here while he's still super cheap. And then I like sending it back with Jaden Reed on the other side, who's also playing at a really high level. Last week he saw 3 design rush attempts for 46 yards and a touchdown. And I think with Aaron Jones, expected to miss this game and maybe longer, it makes sense to use Reed as sort of like a Debo Samuel type role. AJ Dillon's a thunder, but they need some lightning. And, Reed can be kind of like a shifty wide receiver in the backfield, use him at running back at times. So, I think he has massive upside either way. But they could get creative with him with Aaron Jones out. So I just like, sending it the other way with Jaden Reed here. But I think, stacking the Lions here makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, most definitely. I'll talk a little more about Jamison in a bit, but I know Jaden Reed's just been popping off the screen watching him on tape each and every week, and it's funny because his snap rate fluctuates a lot. Like 1 week he'll be like 55%, next week he'll be 80%, but it seems like he makes plays no matter what happens. So this week, Dontavian Wicks looks like he's in the concussion protocol, so he's iffy, which I think might shore up the the snaps for the top 3 guys, because Wicks had been emerging as a guy cutting into all of their snaps. 3 games with 49 or more receiving yards, 91 in the last game. So if he's out, that's actually a big loss for Jordan Love, but it helps those other guys like Jaden Reed. So I like that one. I'm gonna go with Brock Purdy and stacking him with his fellow Niners here. So Purdy's just 6,100 on DK. He is the 4th most expensive quarterback. He's cheaper than Sam Howell, which is, I think, pretty nuts because Brock Purdy now has Debo, Kittle, Ayuk healthy, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, the whole gang. Now, it could, like, if Geno's out, maybe you don't see quite as much pressure on the Niners to throw the ball, but that really hasn't mattered. Purdy, it's been all about the efficiency, and the Niners are just ruthlessly efficient with all those guys healthy. So if you look at the last 2 wins, they were blowouts. Well, I mean, 27-14 against the Bucs last week. Maybe some people don't consider that a blowout, but it was they were leading handily most of the game. And in that game, he had 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then in a 34-3 win against Jacksonville, 296 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, and then the last win before that was that Dallas win, and he had 252 yards and 4 touchdowns. So the way the Niners kind of do things these days, they're not just kind of feeling out Purdy and kind of easing him in anymore. They're not afraid to let him throw and keep putting up the passing yards. And this Seahawks defense has been a little bit better against the run than against the pass. So I think even if this is a Niner blowout or pretty easy no sweat win for the Niners, I still think Purdy makes a lot of sense stacked with Ayuk at 7K, Debo at 5,900, and Kittle at 6K. I'd probably go 2 out of those 3 in most of the stacks, and then mix in some with all 3 as well. But I like Debo and Kittle because they are around the same price as Purdy. So all 3 of those guys would average out to 6K, which is pretty affordable for the kind of upside that you're getting there. But Ayuk has been so ridiculous that you can't completely fade him. It's just not as ideal as in a stack because you're always trying to get some value with these stacks, especially on these kind of slates. So, but still, like Purdy, I think he sticks out like a sore thumb as the 4th highest priced quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he benefits from the scheme under Kyle Shanahan, but Purdy is actually really good as a quarterback. So it's you're getting just like the best of both worlds with Purdy in Shanahan's scheme.
Yeah, some of the throws he's making, I mean,
To
it's
Ayuk?
like across his, yeah, it's they're just ridiculous. But he's throwing with anticipation, that's the mark of a good quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, not really much else to say there. And I think even his down stretch, I mean, it coincided with a concussion. It coincided with Trent Williams being out, Christian McCaffrey being banged up. Like, that was really the only time we've ever seen this offense or him look human in this offense. So, yeah, he's one of these guys I'm not afraid to target even in projected positive game script. But who do you like for dart throws on this slate?
Well, I don't know if he's a dart throw, but Zach Charbonnet at 5,300. If Walker is out here, is
completely the opposite of a dart throw.
Yeah, well, I got to talk about him.
Completely the opposite of a dart throw.
I don't give a shit.
The chalk of chalk.
I know. I'm just saying, whatever percent his rostership is probably still too low. If it's under 100%, it's still too low. He's the only running back I think is a clear good play right now. So. Moving on to wide receiver, I already mentioned him.
you keep talking about it. I'm just.
Oh, I mean, I've talked about Charbonnet enough. My waiver wire piece every week just opens up saying if Zach Charbonnet is still available, add him now. Before, if Kenneth Walker were to miss time, you're gonna have to blow a ton of money on him. He has so much upside. So every week I've been reminding people to just stash him at least in case this were to happen. Wide receiver, I already mentioned him. Jamison Williams at 3,400 is a great dart throw. So is, Jalen Tolbert at 3,100. He's managed to split the wide receiver 3 work with Michael Gallup the past 3 weeks now, really. So he's been averaging 50% routes run rate the last 3 games and a really impressive 23% target rate over those 3 games too. So he's definitely worth a flyer at $3,100. Even if he were to continue at this usage, he's worth it. But there's a chance he could just leapfrog Gallup and they want to use him more. So I think he has a pretty high ceiling here. Good matchup, against the Commanders. Dak Prescott's been on fire. So being able to get, potentially the Cowboys' number 3 wide receiver at near min price is hard to pass up here. So love Tolbert.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been his route participation rate's been rising. I think the only thing I worry about with him is when exactly do you think he's better in a more neutral game script, or do you think he's better in a blowout game script at this point? Because I almost feel like it used to be like when he was the clear number 4, it was like, okay, it's probably better the Cowboys just blow somebody out and then it's so early in the game that they're still passing, but they're kind of taking out some of their, starters. But now that he's kind of as the number 3, does that mean we want more of a just neutral game script for the game to stay close for him, or what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think probably blowouts still help him. He's been really splitting work with Gallup when games are close, and then when it's a blowout, they pull Gallup as, I guess, the veteran. And they leave Tolbert out there. So, in week 10, when they beat the Jets by, over 30 points, he had a season high 63% routes run rate. And a lot of that was due to just he was still in there towards the end of the game. So, but obviously in a blowout, they're going to be throwing less. So it kind of offsets a bit. But either way, this is really, really bad news for Michael Gallup. Any way you slice it. But I think with Tolbert, a game against the Commanders where they might win by 2 scores, I think that's probably better for him. Okay.
Yeah. Because when you build these kind of lineups, we always talk about, you got to have to kind of tell a story with your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
You want to kind of have an idea of how you're projecting, a couple of specific outcomes, just 3 different games. So maybe you say 3 outcomes. And that even goes for if you're fading a game. So, you could stack up, let's say, Cowboys and the Packers game, and you're essentially saying, well, that 49er Seahawks game is going to be super low scoring.
Yeah.
Maybe Christian McCaffrey gets all the touchdowns in the game, something like that. So even if you're fading a game, you still need to kind of have an idea of how that could come to fruition in a way that could put you over the edge. You know, you can't just fade a game and then, you know, to hell with it. And then, like, there's going to be somebody in that game probably that's going to blow up. But if he's like, if it's the most expensive player or one of them, then you say, okay, well, if I expect, let's say, McCaffrey and Ayuk to get most of the production in that game, and both of those guys are pretty expensive, there just might be better values. And that's how I see that playing out. So you have to kind of think of that when you're building lineups, you know, for a 3-game slate. But it's a lot. There's a lot of fun game theory that you could kind of employ there. But like Tolbert as well. Love JMO. I mean, he was a guy I had written down, and you just straight up stole him from me. But it's all good.
Well, that's it. I mean, you just put all the good players in all the outlines. I was just dealing with scraps over here. Thanksgiving scraps.
I was trying to fill out the outline early to give you. I knew you would be busy, so I was like, all right.
I could Baba weave around all your studs. I could figure something out.
Right. Yeah, you're about to hear some studs, but just to put a bow on JMO, the last 2 weeks, career highs in route participation, 55% 2 weeks ago, and then 66%. And that was coming out of the bye. We always talk about this too. Rookies coming out of the bye, that's when it tends to click. And lo and behold, finally got a score that didn't get called back last week. And also Green Bay super zone heavy, one of the most zone heavy teams under Joe Barry, and Williams averaging 1.7 yards a route and an average depth of target of just over 19 against zone. Against man coverage, 0 yards per route and an average depth of target of just 8. So that's interesting, because you think of JMO as a downfield guy, but you would think against man coverage he would be going, you know, deeper down, but maybe Goff's just not looking at him on some of those throws. But either way, he's been great against Green Bay scheme, so love him. Another Cowboy that I'm surprised you didn't steal this guy, Rico Dowdle. You know, you were talking him up last week, and I think that was a great call. And he's now averaging 11 touches over his last 2 games, just under 50 total yards, and he has a touchdown. And he's had double-digit touches each of the last 2, and their Cowboys are 11-point favorites and rising at some spots. So either way, this could be another spot where you see Dowdle kind of mopping up. But also I was reading that the coaching staff wants to give Dowdle more carries when the game is, you know, still in the balance, and we've been seeing that. So really like Rico Dowdle going against this Washington team that just gave up, like, I mean, so much production to Saquon Barkley. It was ridiculous. Like 2 touchdowns on the through the air, 57 receiving yards, a bunch of yards on the ground as well for Barkley last week. So I think Dowdle can definitely, you know, Dowdle and Pollard can be productive, but Dowdle is going to be that leverage play, and he's 4,600, which is pretty much, he's even, you know, he's not going to get as many touches as Charbonnet, but that is kind of a cheaper pivot where, you know, if Dowdle can get 10 touches and find the end zone, and Charbonnet gets like 17 touches but doesn't score a touchdown, you know, those guys could be pretty close in scoring. And there's not many other running backs like that. Or really, there's not any running backs like that on this slate. Another true dart throw here. since you know, not even a Jalen Tolbert, Jamison Williams, we're gonna go a tier down from that.
Wow.
Like a true, you know, guy who probably is running single digit routes in the game. But Byron Pringle, he is min priced on DraftKings. He's 200 over min price on FanDuel. He's a Washington Commander, like number 5 receiver. I realize some people might not even know who the heck that is, but the Dallas Cowboys play the most man coverage in the league, and Pringle has a team high 2.9 yards per route and a team high 19.3 average depth of target against man coverage. Against zone, just 1.3 yards a route and an average depth of target of 4. So he has been essentially Washington's one of their man beaters. He tends to see his most action against defenses that play a lot of man, like the Giants. He popped up for a couple catches, but yeah, like 50% of his targets and over half of his receiving yardage this year have come against man coverage. So he's one of those guys who, it's a true dart throw. I mean, the median is probably zero catches for Byron Pringle. But this is the type of defense that he would pop against. And you never know, especially with this, big spread. There's a lot of different ways that he could hit. I mean, he could hit if they just use him more against this defense anyway, because he's, he'll have like the number 4 corner on him. Or if there's a blowout, he'd be getting snaps down the stretch, because McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, those guys aren't playing, 95, 100% of the snaps most weeks anyway. They're usually in that 85% range. So either way, I think Byron Pringle is a pretty intriguing dart through that I don't think will be more than, 5. He'll definitely be in the single digits, I would think, on this slate in terms of ownership. And one more at tight end. And this is the cheapest route, the cheapest startable amount of routes that you could get, and that's Noah Fant. He is 2,700 on DK, 4,700 on FanDuel, and nothing in particular sticks out about the matchup, except I guess you could say, San Francisco is pretty zone heavy, which tends to help tight ends and running backs, but he's going to run a route about anywhere from 45 to 55% of the time. Whereas everyone priced under him, you're talking about, 25, 30% if you're lucky. Like a Brock Wright maybe gets to 30% some days. But Fant is the number 1 tight end for the Seahawks. And he did have a 5-catch, 32-yard, 1 touchdown outing in his last regular season game against the Niners last year. So not the playoff game, but the last regular season game. So he's 1 for 3 in terms of popping off against the Niners, since they played 3 games last year. But I mean, that's pretty good odds for 2,700, guy who's 2,700. So I think he's a guy who doesn't stick out for any reason in particular. So I don't think he'll see super high ownership either, especially with, some pretty decent tight ends on this slate. But he's a guy that can kind of make salaries work. So like Noah Fant as well.
Yeah, I like the Dowdle call. Obviously, he still hasn't been able to practice though. He popped up late in the week on the injury report, that ankle injury, but then
he played.
They Deuce Vaughn was a healthy scratch, so they clearly weren't that worried about it, right? I mean, the Cowboys are at full health right now. They could have easily had Vaughn, active in that game just in case, but they didn't. So I'm not too worried about it, but it'd be nice to see him practice at least, before Thursday. But something to monitor. Maybe they'll keep his roster strip down, having that big red Q there next to his name. But something to monitor. Either way, it wasn't a concern last week, so it might not be here, but something to watch.
Yeah, it seems like this is more just maintenance for him because I noticed that too. And usually those like midweek adds to the injury report are pretty dire, to be honest with you. It's usually you are going to see some type of dip, but didn't really see anything. And yeah, I noticed that too. Dallas has been going with the 2 running backs most weeks, Pollard and Dowdle, and then they keep the fullback Hunter Lipke. He's active every week, and he can slide in and play tailback if they need. So yeah, if you're heavily investing into Dowdle and you're doing like multi-entry, I think you probably want to get some like at least 1 or 2 lineups with Hunter Lipke in it, because if Dowdle or Pollard were to get hurt, I'm pretty sure you see Lipke carry the football, kind of like Kari Blossom game.
Yeah, I was gonna
say those 8 carries. Yep.
Yeah, 8 carries for 13 yards or whatever. But something.
Yeah, but he's better than that. I think Lipke's a little better than like he can actually make a guy or 2 miss. I don't know if you saw him at all in the preseason, but he wasn't bad.
You know me, I watched every single
So that's how he got the job. He actually did play some tailback in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken. Like he wasn't just solely a fullback. So he's another interesting one. But all right, anything else before we move on to the main slate, or are we good here?
No, we're good.
All right. So yeah, just recap real quick, since we went through a lot of names. Stacks, Sean liked Goff, Jameson Williams, Jaden Reed. I like Purdy, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle. Sean for dart throws liked Zach Charbonnet, who's not a dart throw. So for
just
chalk,
one more chance to talk about him, please.
And then Jameson Williams, Jalen Tolbert. I like Dowdle, JMO, Byron Pringle, Noah Fant. All right, main slate. Stacks, what do you like?
I'm going with the Aiden O'Connell stack again here. So I'm going with Aiden O'Connell, Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer, and sending it back with Isaiah Pacheco. Last week I thought this was a sneaky stack against the Dolphins. I just think O'Connell's a viable option in like large GPPs. He's a bit of a wild card. Again, he kind of reminds me of Jameis Winston in a sense. Like he will just play YOLO ball. And last week, he threw for 271 yards and a touchdown. But unfortunately, that came with 3 picks. It could have easily been a bigger game. And he's also, probably on the brink of maybe getting benched in games. So you have to consider that when you do this. But that's why I like this. It's a very volatile stack. Devontae Adams has been much better, more involved, I should say, with O'Connell under center when they are throwing. So like his upside here. But also Michael Mayer. We've seen his usage tick up quite a bit, over the past few weeks. I think last week was his season high, which was his career high routes run rate of 73%. And he's a rookie with a ton of upside. He has a ton of talent. So the fact that he's only 2,600, means he's a great dart throw as well. And then I like sending it back with Isaiah Pacheco. Kansas City just might lean on the run game a lot more here. Why not against the Raiders? Mahomes is let down by his receivers, even Travis Kelce at times last week. So I bet they, just lean on Pacheco a little bit more here than normal. So like the idea of just stacking this game, just going full on YOLO ball with Aiden O'Connell here again.
Yeah, I did not expect that. Actually, that was not on my radar because Kansas City has been a top 3 pass DVOA. So I was not even looking at that. But yeah, if Kansas City puts up a lot of points, I think, it's really the defense doesn't really matter at that point. You're just throwing against prevent for the most part, so that's how it would have to hit. But if it's a close game, I don't think that would be the game spread. I think you would need, so that's why it makes sense to run it back with Pacheco because you're probably going to need a very positive Kansas City game script. Because if it's neutral, I mean, Kansas City's been impressive, man. Like last 3 weeks, Jalen Hurts 150 yards. Yeah, he got the 2 touchdowns on the ground, but 150 yards passing. Tua Tagovailoa 193 yards passing, 1 touchdown. And Russ had 3 touchdowns, but only 114 pass yards. And they still haven't given up. A 300-yard game. So totally different from what we kind of remember. Yeah.
But O'Connell, again, I think he's fearless. Also, Pacheco and Chiefs defense is also worth a stack because O'Connell can take a lot of sacks. Again, he just stands there in the pocket, unfazed with pressure, which is a problem. And he throws a ton of picks. So you could absolutely go with the Pacheco Chiefs stack. I'm not guaranteeing O'Connell's going to have a good game, but he's such a wild card. We just have to kind of roll the dice on him while he's still the starting quarterback in these potential negative game scripts.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. You mentioned the sacks for Aiden O'Connell. I feel like there are a few quarterbacks this year that are single-handedly just raising the league average sack rate. It's like it's 7.2 this year. It's usually around 6.5, 6.7 maybe percent. Yeah. It's 7.2% this year. And I feel like that's just Tommy DeVito and Aiden O'Connell. Like these guys just going down.
Bryce Young, Sam Howell.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. I didn't even mention, how could I forget how? Yeah, because like the last 4 years, it was COVID year, it was 5.9%. Then 2021, 6.2%. Then 2022, 6.7%. And now it's 7.2%. That's a pretty big jump in 4 years. And it's like a lot of these backup and just, young quarterbacks.
Rookies. We also set the record for rookie starting quarterbacks. A lot of backups, a lot of big name quarterbacks going down. Brady's retired. A lot of reasons. But yeah, that's a good point. The sack rates have been pretty insane this year.
Yeah. So like that's even more, reason to, when you're looking at your defense, think about that, regardless of, favorite underdog, this and that. Like, I mean, in this case, the Chiefs are favored against the Raiders, no problem. But yeah, I think targeting the Chiefs defense against O'Connell, the Patriots defense against DeVito, like you're just, even if you don't get any other points, you could get to 12, 14 points just on sacks.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts. All right. Wait, what are we doing? I don't even remember. Oh, stacks, right? Right. Main slate stacks. Yeah, there
Sunday.
We go. All right. Thinking about that Thanksgiving dinner. All right. Kyler Murray. I like Kyler Murray, Marquise Brown in as a stack because Marquise Brown's been super quiet since Kyra came back, but he's still the number one receiver for the Cardinals. He's still running around 95 to 100% of Murray's dropbacks, and he's just 5,200 on DraftKings. And the one thing I've noticed, and part of the reason why Brown has been so quiet, is he was more of like a volume number one receiver with Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune. I mean, Clayton Tune didn't really have receivers. He just kind of threw the ball into the ground or got sacked or picks. But, with Murray, Brown has been more of a, downfield deep threat, kind of harkening back to his rookie year. Right? So he's not going to be as consistent, but his average depth of target is 21 in the 2 games with Kyler. So Kyler's looking for him down the field. Eventually they're going to start connecting. And Brown, because he's also running the most routes and is essentially their de facto number one receiver, he could supplement, if he catches a deep ball, he could still catch 4 or 5 other passes. Like he's not one of those guys that's going to catch one deep ball and that's it necessarily. He could, but he has that upside to do both. So love buying low on him, coming off a few bad games going up against the Rams. And obligatory mention, CJ Stroud, Tank Dell every week. just book it.
There you go.
What about for dart throws? Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, so dart throws, obviously, Aiden O'Connell at 5K. Desmond Ridder at 4,800 is worth a mention. I mean, it's his job again. He has some upside, at least, against the Saints. So got to roll with him in a few lineups, at least. At running back, this is actually more of a dart throw than Charbonnet, I guess. Tajay Spears, 4,400 against the Panthers. This normally isn't a spot where you'd like to use him because the Titans should lead this game. This should be a big Derrick Henry game, but there could just be more volume overall to go around for running backs here. The Panthers ranked dead last in DVOA against the run. So Spears, he could break a big run or two here. Definitely worth a flyer. I think, the market's pretty sharp now, so his rostership might be a little bit lower because it is a Henry game. So I like Spears there. For wide receiver, a couple really good cheap options. Justin Watson, for some reason, is min price. He's Patrick Mahomes' main deep threat right now. Caught 5 balls for 53 yards and a touchdown against the Eagles. And, MVS has really struggled. He dropped that wide open touchdown. So even more reason for Mahomes to just target Justin Watson deep going forward. And I do like your card stack. I would also say Michael Wilson's in play. If he does suit up, he's 3,200. So assuming he does return, he could be overlooked here after not playing last week. He has big playability. We know that, but he also thrives against zone. So it's a good matchup for him against the Rams who use zone at a pretty high rate. And then at tight end, I already mentioned it, but Michael Mayer at 2,600. In what should be a trailing game script against the Chiefs. I love that play. He ran 72% routes run last week, caught 4 balls for 46 yards. He was supposed to be the top drafted tight end in this year's class, mainly due to, he's a good blocker, but he's a pretty good pass catcher too. So I think he's only going to get better in the second half. I think the Raiders are, kind of evaluating for the future. So it's encouraging to see his usage go up. And I think, the catches, the yards, the touchdowns potentially will come eventually. So I like taking Mayer at 2,600 here.
Yeah, another one of those rookies that's gonna keep breaking out, and he keeps seeing more playing time under this new regime. I like at running back Tyler Algier, and he's essentially just the cheapest back that he could conceivably get 15 to 20 carries, because we never know what Arthur Smith is going to do or how that backfield is going to kind of shake out. So Algier is just 4,600 on DraftKings and 5,600 on FanDuel. They're at home against the Saints. As you mentioned, they're going back to Ridder, so maybe they go a little run heavier. They keep oscillating between quarterbacks, but every time we think Bijan Robinson, it's like, all right, he's finally gonna take control of the backfield. Like, he had 22 carries last game. Like, all right, that's it from here on out. Arthur Smith goes right back to Algier. So I think that's surely a possibility in this spot, because Arthur Smith has said it. He's like, the reason I do it is because it's like it actually works as decoys, like, and to an extent it actually has. I mean, you have guys like Jonnu Smith putting up career years, because the defense is concerned with Bijan and Kyle Pitts and whatnot. So you see it work on occasion. So I think Algier is like kind of a sneaky one that everyone probably kind of gave up on him after Bijan had those 22 carries before the bye. Wide receiver A.T. Perry in that same game for the Saints. He ran a route on 89% of the dropbacks in place of Michael Thomas before the bye. And so, I think Rashid Shaheed is going to get a lot of the hype, and for good reason. He's an exciting player. We've both loved him for a while. Super explosive, but A.T. Perry's more of the one-for-one Thomas replacement. Rookie coming off a bye, who saw essentially 90% of the snaps heading into the bye. That just screams potential breakout here. So 3,200 on DraftKings, 4,700 on FanDuel. That's just 200 above the minimum on both sites. I think he's very intriguing. And Cade Otton at tight end is just 3,200 on DK, 5K on FanDuel. And the Colts are a bottom 6 defense against tight ends. And this game could have some sneaky scoring potential. For one, it's indoors in the Dome in Indianapolis. 2, the Bucs are going through some injuries on defense. Both of their starting corners, and then Lavonte David's also banged up. So if they're down, a bunch of those key players, this game could go over that 43 and a half total. So then you'd want to have, more guys in this game besides just, Mike Evans and Jonathan Taylor. So like Cade Otton, I think he's sneaky. Been running around about 90% of the time, and been more productive over the last month and a half with Baker Mayfield. So like Otton as well.
Yeah, I love the Perry call. A lot of good cheap receivers in that low 3K range this week.
Yep. Michael Wilson, if he comes back, I think you mentioned, is another one. Even Rondale, I mean, he's 3,600. Yeah. Khalil Shakir is 3,600. Marvin Mims is 3,400. So yeah, there are some interesting options there. And even, I mean, Julio Jones ran a route on 75% of the dropbacks for the Eagles without Goddard. So even, I mean, he's a ghost at this point, but that's a lot of routes for essentially min price. So it's another one to keep in mind. Let's go and build
a
lineup. Let's go DK main slate. You can start us off.
All right. Let's see. I'll probably go with a let's see, for this slate. Is Tank Dell still 5,800? Nope.
Even if he's not, who cares?
6,900.
Any juice, any price. Take him at any price.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I'll just go with my standard Trey McBride at 4,700 to kick things off.
Fair. Can't hate on that one. All right. Let's see. Got to be strategic about this. Ooh, I know what I'm going to do. Maybe we'll end up going head to head on something, because I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs defense. I know you like a lot of the Raiders, so we'll see how that goes with 3,100 against the Eagles. They put up 7 fantasy points. That was the first time in 5 games they hadn't put up double digits. So this defense has been very good, and now you're getting potential picks, potential sacks, as you said, with O'Connell. So, yep, 3,100 seems like the cheapest, high upside defense, I think, on this slate.
Yeah, no, I was going to go with them next. To be clear, Aiden O'Connell is only a large tournament GPP type of play. The Chiefs defense is absolutely the cash play here. I was going to go there. So I'll go with Rashid Shaheed at 4,300.
All right.
Who's also, I guess, more of a GPP play, but I like him at this price.
Yeah, just because, we don't know, like his style of play, I think still leads to volatility, even with Thomas out. So yeah, I would call him more of a GPP. All right. Let's go with Jalen Warren at 5,400. New offensive coordinator. I feel like that's got to be. I mean, they already started using it more. We talked about this. He's essentially the starter now, quote unquote. But I feel like if you're a new offensive coordinator for the Steelers, that's got to be like one of the top orders of business is make sure this guy sees the ball more than he has been.
Yeah. Damn, I was thinking about him too. Let's see. Man, that's a brutal matchup though. I can't go there. I'm gonna go with Cal Rindley. He's a little bit too cheap at 6K. I'm surprised he's that cheap after his big game last week. Hopefully that's here to stay. But I do like Ridley's upside here against the Texans.
I don't know. Seems a little chasey.
Yeah, no, believe me, I preface with that. But Ridley is good. I mean, I don't if there's a wide receiver I don't mind chasing, it's Cal Ridley.
All right. Let's see. What do I want to do here? Let's go Derrick Henry, 6,400 at home against that last ranked Panther D.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Shoot. I think I'll go with the quarterback here. Just trying to see. I have 5,800 remaining per player. I don't feel like spending down, so I'll get Kyler at 6,900.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good value there.
Yeah.
I like him as well.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay.
Nah, we're still going. We started pretty late. Nice. Yeah, we're up. We're at like about 40 minutes on this one. 40 something. We're about done. We're just doing the lineup. Yeah. Nah. I guess he has to do something.
Okay. Got a hornet flying around.
Oh wow.
All right. Oh, was that David just popped in?
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, so you just went
Kyler.
Kyler, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okie dokes. Okay, I've got an average of 58.50 per player. Still haven't taken a wide receiver, so let's see. You know what? I'm gonna go with I'll go with Perry. Let's go AT Perry at 3,200. Nice. Make this interesting here. Flash before the bye, caught his first touchdown. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come, but expecting a pretty robust workload in terms of snaps.
Yep. I'm gonna go defense here. You already stole my pick. This is a common theme with you most weeks. I should just take a defense first.
Yeah, it's game theory. You got to go with the onesie positions first. If the other person hasn't.
Yeah. Well, the more I look at it, the Chiefs are phenomenal play at 3,100. I'm gonna do something you kind of did. You did this the other week. I'm paying down. They're 2,900, and they're facing a pretty good offense, but they're very volatile. I'm going with the Eagles against the Bills.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So they're cheap, but Josh Allen will probably have to sling it around here. Some potential sacks, some potential picks. And just Jalen Carter has been playing out of his mind as a rookie. And did you see he almost intercepted Patrick Mahomes' spike? Oh my God. If that happened. Whew. I think that, you mentioned it, just defenses are so volatile. Sometimes it's worth it just to spend down, see what happens. And that's kind of what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I mean, in the Eagles, it's expected to be a higher scoring game. So you never know. You might get a return. You might get something, like you said, Josh Allen, a turnover. So you might get in the end zone on defense. You don't just have to limit the opposing offense to a low point total to have a lot of points on defense. All right. let's see. So now I got 6380 average salary for a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Damn, I wish Burrow was still healthy. Then Tanner Hudson would be fun at 2,700, but not with Browning.
I mean, maybe they want Browning and just check it down to Hudson, though. Who knows?
Right, yeah. Wouldn't be the craziest thing.
Right.
No, I'm not going to go there, though. Let's see. You have McBride, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jack Stoll's available at 3K.
I think I will pass.
1 catch for 3 yards.
I'm gonna go Kincaid here. He's being on a tear. Philadelphia's 32nd in DVOA against tight ends.
Yeah.
Buffalo should have to throw, like you said, early and often, and it's tough to run too. So you might see a pass-heavy game script here. So yeah, let's go Kincaid at 5,300.
All right. Well, I have to start taking running backs, so I'll kick it off with Rachaad White at 6,100.
Great pick.
Much better play on. Well, he's good on FanDuel too, but like DK, a full PPR, he's much better there. So I'll go with Rachaad White.
Let's go Michael Pittman. 6,800 going up against the Bucks. Might have some banged up corners, and Pittman has 8 catches each of the last 3 games. He has, wow, I didn't even realize how many he has. 4, 5, 6, 7. He has 7 games with 8 or more catches this year. That is beautiful for DraftKings.
He's pretty good. How many of those were with Minshew? Probably most of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, Minshew's been the starter for most of the year. He's he's got more games with 8+ catches than without. But yeah, each of the last 3 and 4 of the last 5, those were all with Minshew. And then because Richardson I think went down in week 5. So yeah, 4 of the last 4 of the last 5, he's got 8. He's got 9, and then 1 down game with 2, but he had 83 yards in that game. Just 2 catches for 83, then 8 again.
Yeah,
so
this is
ridiculous. It's kind of it's been going under the radar a little bit, but
yeah, his 1 catch game was the I think the lone full game Anthony Richardson played.
Yep. He had in week 4 against the Rams, 1 catch for 15 yards on 5 targets. That was really his only bad game because he had 2 catches, 83 yards, and a touch against Cleveland.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's been double digits every other week with that 1 catch game. So yep, go Pittman at 6,800.
All right, well, I'll take another running back here. I'll counter your Chiefs defense with Isaiah Pacheco at 6,200. Again, after that game, it would not shock me if the Chiefs lean on the run a bit more, and they should still beat, the Raiders that way. So I think Pacheco has a big game here. Probably a little too cheap at 6,200.
Yep, he's Jarrett McKinnon's like an afterthought this year. After that, all those touchdowns last year.
Yeah, did you call that? He was one of your fades.
Yeah. I have him like under some PPR yardage number that he's under.
You took a prop too?
Yeah.
You had a prop?
Wait, hold on. He had I think it was like 750 receiving and rushing combined or something like that. Something ridiculous. Yeah, something that was like way too high.
Wow. I remember you saying, fading PPR backs that are coming off a big year.
Yep.
Because they're a bit more volatile. So that made a ton of sense. But yeah, it's still crazy to see how little he's producing.
Yeah, both PPR guys, it's like you almost always get caught chasing if you kind of project them in, because by nature, they depend on game script, and they kind of depend on what else is going on. Like as an opposing defense is blitzing a lot. Are there other receivers that are going to demand a higher target share? Is the quarterback even a guy who checks down? Like just a lot that can go on with those guys. But all right, I got 6,600 for a quarterback, wide receiver, flex. So I'm in pretty good shape here. Let's see. Let's stay in that same Bucks game, and we'll go Mike Evans at 7,400. So I got Pittman and Evans.
Nice.
So I got.
Just considering.
Sorry,
you know what? What I was considering, I guess counter you, but I'm just deciding if I want to go there.
Okay.
With the other Bucks receiver.
Ooh, Godwin or Otten.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you already got Rashad White.
No. Trey Palmer. No, I'm kidding.
Raheem Jarrett?
Damn.
I knew it.
Devin Tompkins.
Cokeith?
No, I mean, now we're talking. No, actually, I already have their second best receiver, Rashad White.
Pretty much.
God, like there's no gimmies at receiver. You know what? I'm gonna go. Oh, I have McBride and Murray. I'll do it anyway. Maybe I won't. No, I'm not gonna do it. Geez, this is ridiculous. He has a tough matchup. Why the hell would I invest in that offense? All right, I'm gonna just do this. Demario Douglas at 4,400 against the Giants. Just give me a high floor guy.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, yeah, I think that's a really good value.
Yeah.
He hasn't scored yet, at least he hasn't scored in the last few games. So that's, his value could go up if he puts up that same volume and gets in the end zone.
Nah, he's the Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I mean the Patriots don't throw touchdowns.
The Patriots don't throw touchdowns. That is true. Yeah, that's an everybody problem. But yeah, it's 6 or 7 catches a game and no touchdowns. The Jacoby Myers special. That's totally fine with me here at 4,400.
I'll go with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, 6,400.
Nice. Hopefully, he throws plenty of touchdowns to Calvin Ridley again.
Yeah, got to counter your Ridley.
Yeah, I was mad that I went with Douglas because I was facing this situation where I have 8,500 left over. It's a bad week to have 8,500 left over. I'll tell you that. So I can take Alvin Kamara at 8,400, which is way overpriced in my opinion.
Yeah.
Still not a bad play. If I have to pick somebody, it's not bad. Cooper Kupp is 8K, but we don't even know if he'll play. I'm 0 for 4 on gambling on questionable players on Tuesday.
Right.
Puka Nacua is 7,600. He's he picked up a shoulder injury, but
he came back in the game though, or he was like playing through it. He was playing through it.
Yeah, so I'm going with Puka Nacua because if Cooper Kupp is held out, Nakua's projection is going to go up even more. So he'll be a value there. I just wish I played it a little bit differently so I didn't have $900 left on the table, but it is what it is. That's what happens when you're drafting teams like this.
I dig it, man. It's tough. I got 6K for a flex. The top guys are Devin Singletary, Ridley, who you took, James Conner, who not a terrible play actually. Amari Cooper, he has DTR, Ramondre Stevenson, who is questionable, but that Stevenson's actually interesting. Let's see. What is his injury? Not considered serious. So yeah, I think I'm between Stevenson or stacking Lawrence with Kirk, or I could go Javonte Williams, but that's up against Cleveland.
Yeah, that's what I kept saying. Javonte's price was awfully appealing until I kept seeing the opponent, Cleveland.
Yeah. And he hasn't been consistent enough to, just kind of do that. So I'm going to go. Let's go Stevenson here. He got 20 carries in that, the Patriots finally had a decent game script. He got 20 carries in that game. I think they need to continue to ride him, and they might actually be able to. They're favorites against the Giants. I mean, not that means much, but Giants did get a lot of luck, turnovers. I think Washington had 6 turnovers. So I think Stevenson has a chance for another 20 carry game. So, we'll go Ramondre here. So I got Lawrence at quarterback, Warren and Derrick Henry at running back at 5,400 and 6,400 respectively. Lawrence was 6,400 at quarterback. Wide receivers, Mike Evans, 7,400 at the Colts. Michael Pittman, 6,800 against the Bucks. And A.T. Perry, 3,200 against the Falcons. Dalton Kincaid at tight end, 5,300. At Philly, Ramondre, 5,800 at the Giants in the flex, and then the Chiefs D going up against the Raiders at 3,100. What you got?
I went with Kyler Murray at quarterback. My running backs are Isaiah Pacheco, Rashad White. My wide receivers are Demario Douglas, Calvin Ridley, Rashid Shaheed. My tight end is Trey McBride for, I believe, the third week in a row now. And my flex is Puka Nacua. And, my defense, I went with the Eagles against the Bills. I went the cheap route, 2,900, but then I ended up with $900 left over anyway. So I probably could have spent up in hindsight at defense. But I do like the upside potentially against the Bills here.
Yeah, and so it's a unique lineup. I'm sure not many lineups are going to have 900 left over, and the Eagles at defense. So
no, for tournaments, especially with a guy like Shaheed in there, but facing head to head with you, terrible strategy, terrible.
I mean, I kind of leaned a little more tournament, kind of like I got Lawrence, Henry, Warren. I mean, those guys aren't A.T. Perry. It's more of a tournament type.
Yeah, that's true. A.T. Perry is definitely a tournament play.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to break my streak of having a guy not play. Michael Wilson wasn't even on the injury report this time last week, right?
Yeah, no, I think that was a midweek injury.
Yeah, I took a 0 from him. Nacua is questionable, I guess, with the shoulder injury, but you said he played through it. So fingers crossed that none of these guys just randomly, get ruled out, which has been a common theme for me lately.
Yeah, man. Definitely hope that does not happen because it's been. I feel like it's been what? It's definitely been like 3-4 weeks in a row, and probably like 6 or 7 times this season, I think. But that's what happens.
You've had some too, right?
Yeah. So that's what happens when you do this on a Tuesday. Yeah,
it's
sometimes it happens, but that reminder, everyone, make sure you check your lineups closer to lock. Check those injury reports. Final injury reports come out on Friday, so for the Sunday game. So be sure to check those. But that's going to wrap it up for us. If you are looking for our breakdown of the Friday slate between the Dolphins and Jets, that'll be on our night shift episode along with the Sunday and Monday night DFS slates right here on this channel. And we also got our player projections episode out right now over on the Action Network podcast channel, actionnetwork.com for all of our NFL fantasy and betting content, fantasylabs.com for our DFS tools and models. Don't forget about that Action Network Discord, link in the episode description. Sean is on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon, and we're at those same handles on a free, award-winning Action Network app. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's get this money.